I've been thinking we should explore a little bit of the Native American culture, their spirituality, their occult, their rituals and practices. So I decided now that in the month of September, we will be riding on a motorcycle, covering over 16 states in United States of the 50. I'm excited, I hope you are. Now that I'm here in United States and travel doesn't look very attractive, getting into a plane, I think is the worst thing to do right now. I'm not fit enough to swim back to India. So we thought we will make the best use of it. I must tell you this, probably in probably 2001 or maybe 2000, the year 2000 or 2001, I'm not very clear about that. Post Dhyanalinga, when people were doubting whether I will live or not, at that time, I took a break and spent some time in near the Center Hill Lake. One of our meditators had a beautiful home there, and we spent a week or so trying to recover, and at the same time I was writing something, so we needed time in a place where there was not much disturbance, phones would not work, and I wanted a place where phones don't work. So as a part of this, when I was there, I just walked off into the forest. I will entertain the Americans by calling it woods. I walked away among the woods, really tall trees, and I was just walking there and I saw something which will not make logical sense to you, but probably in my life, not probably, I'm quite certain, that was one of the most painful moments in my life, because it hurt me so deeply, looking at this. At that time, I wrote a poem called America. I was just beginning to come to United States at that time. When I saw this as a kind of a monumental pain established in a certain way. Let me read this to you. It's called America. The brooding darkness of these woods fed upon the native blood. In the twisted tangle of the fallen wood, the spirit of the fallen Indian stood. O brothers, your identity a mistake. Those who oceans crossed did make, the greed for gold and land laid waste the spirit of wisdom and grace. The children of those who by murder did take are taintless of their forefathers' mistake. But those who lived, fed upon the milk of courage and pride, stand as spirits of defeat and shame. Oh, the murdered and the murderous, embrace me, let me set your spirits to rest. Well, since then I've been thinking we should explore a little bit of the Native American culture, their spirituality, their occult, their rituals and practices. We made a few trips in certain regions, but never a comprehensive trip, never really managing to pay enough attention to it, though in many different ways, from various different directions, this influence has come towards me because of horribly crazy schedules. Every time I come, sometimes I'm in 3 different cities on the same day. Virus has put us to rest. So, now we are thinking of doing this. We will do this sometime in September. That is because this is… the nature of this culture is such. Maybe almost all of you, at least in this part of the world, and nobody has gone without hearing the song of Bob Dylan about blowing in the wind. That blowing in the wind term comes from Native American culture, where it's always about feeling the wind and sensing what is happening around you. I've spoken about this in the past when I was in a certain part of Canada, north of Vancouver. We were just driving to see how the terrain is, not going anywhere in particular. We drove up probably a couple of 100 miles, and there was one really beat-up pickup truck, and there was a young woman who was like filling gas into this truck, who was from the Native American, one of the Native American tribes there. And there was her father, an older person. So I also went and parked my car to fill up. And I looked at him and our eyes locked up. Then he said, "The winds have been telling me of your coming, brother." Well, we connected in a certain way and we went in different ways. So in that sense, without being in touch with the wind, the earth, you can't really explore this culture. So I decided now that in the month of September, we will be riding on a motorcycle, covering over 16 states in United States of the 50, probably covering 10 to 11,000 kilometers, probably 6,000 to 6,000 miles. It may become much more depending upon how much interest we develop in various things, or how much is still left to feel out from that place. Because the building of the new nation has taken away many things. So we don't want to just dwell on the past, we also want to focus on how in the last 200 years, people managed to build a whole new civilization. A very prominent nation in the world, their struggles, their fights, their longing for a new opening, and various things. Essentially, we want to focus on human beings who made this land what it is and what it was. The culture of what you call as Native Americans goes back a very long time. The circumpolar culture, as it is known, that is somewhere between 10 to 40,000 years. This migration has happened from Central Asia, Siberia, northernmost regions from Greenland, Scandinavia, Northern Asia and Siberia, this whole circumpolar migration that happened, the way the Native American people and the people of Tibet, Mongolia, Siberia are connected, these people walked. Probably when the Bering Sea was frozen in winters, they walked. Probably the Scandinavian cold felt like warmth for those who lived in Siberia. So they walked across, most probably in winters. Today's understanding of archaeology says it could have started 40,000 years ago or more. So this is not something, a single migration, must have happened as a trickle from Canada or northernmost part of Canada down to South America. Over 300 tribes or nations existed at one time. Well, today the whole geography has changed in many ways, but these are cultures, except for some of the South American tribes, these are cultures which largely followed a nomadic way of life, a little bit of scratching the earth in the form of agriculture, but mostly hunters and gatherers, whose life moved with the mobile food that they had. For example, in Northern America, the tribes moved with the movement of buffaloes, because that was their food. Wherever they went, they went. They harvested them in a wise manner without destroying the herds. But those things have changed today, you don't see any buffalo. You don't hear the buffalo tremors in the Tennessee land. And most of you are very happy about that. You wouldn't like to be knocked down by a buffalo. But these are the tragedies we have unfolded on the planet, that life in its full vigor has been taken out, and we have created an artificial cell of life. In creating this artificial cell, much suffering has come. When I say much suffering has come, well, the best way for you to understand right now is the virus, the pandemic. Pandemics have happened in the past also, for a variety of reasons which are not in our control. But pandemics may also be instigated by destruction of habitat for microorganisms, it's possible. I'm saying if there were enough bats and pangolins and bisons or buffaloes, probably they wouldn't bother to jump to new terrain. It's just like how human beings move from one place to another when they feel suffocated in their existing terrain. If England was not an island, suppose there was a way to grow the land like you grow trees, maybe people wouldn't have taken the trouble of navigating across oceans to come to America. Only because the habitat, the existing habitat felt suffocating. Longing to go and find new land or new terrain becomes important in every life's way. No life simply migrates. Life migrates because in some way the existing terrain is insufficient, or in some way it's not able to fulfill their aspirations of whatever that is. So, once again, looking at these cultures, looking at their way of life, their way of addressing their spirituality, their way of organizing their religion may become very important in the world, because people were taught, this is the most disastrous idea, heaven, because people were thought there is a better place somewhere else. Here, we laid this land waste. One important part of these cultures is the land itself is God. Sky is God, land is God, water and wind is God. Well, these things have been dismissed of as paganism or animistic form of worship, but this is important. Instead of being an environmentalist, you must understand land is God because it is the source of your life right now. The very source of your body, the very body that you carry is land. So, bringing this back in a modern context, above all, if you want to experience these things, you must be open to the wind and land, because we can't do this journey horseback. We are going on motorcycles, not too many, just enough to shoot. We will capture this maybe a couple of weeks or more, covering these 10,000–11,000 kilometers. All this you will be able to follow online. On the social media, short clips will go and little longer clips will go on the app, Sadhguru app. So if you wish to follow this for this journey of maybe 15 to 20 days, you must have the app, and later on, more elaborate part of this, we believe we should be shooting anywhere between 35 to 50 hours of material, which could become 12 to 15 hours of edited material. So that will go on Sadhguru exclusive. The idea is to address dimensions of life which need not necessarily be logically correct. Our education systems, in trying to be logically correct, have cut out human experience out of human education. Education has completely taken away human experience. Education is all about information. Information that you cannot relate to. No wonder you go about making predictions of mental health pandemics because you become purely intellectual and logical, you have no profound experience of life. So it's important to bring back the significance of these cultures, the fallacy of these cultures, the lacuna of these cultures, at the same time, the strength of these cultures because they survived for thousands of years. Though genetically, ethnically, they're all about the same, still 300 nations or 300 tribes without a geographical location because they're nomadic in nature, moving around, a general area but no fixed location. They maintain their distinct identities for thousands of years. If tribes have to maintain their distinct identity for thousands of years, obviously they had a very individual tribal experience, that their tribe's experience of life, their way of looking at nature, their way of articulating various dimensions of what they thought was natural and supernatural was very different. That is why they could maintain their identity separately, otherwise very easily they could have merged as one. Today, today in the modern world people say, Indians. Hey, I'm the real Indian, okay? They are a mistake that Columbus made. Because he wanted to go to India and he landed up in America. That's a big mistake, huh? You want to go east but you went west, that's a huge mistake. But they got labeled as Indians because people who came from outside had no patience to look at the intricacies of their culture, why they are who they are. So we will see whatever is left, we will try to explore this to whatever extent we can. Above all, feel the wind for sure. So, because we're riding on motorcycles. I'm excited, I hope you are.